Shri Radha Krishna Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Shri Kapil Dham ki jai, Shri Jagannathpuri Dham ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Yamuna Mai ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Devi ki jai, Kaliyug Pavan Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Giridhari ki jai, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki jai, Shri Nidai Gaur Chandra ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Nidai Gaur Premanand ki jai. All glories to the seven devotees, Hare Krishna. Glories to the seven devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the seven devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Ji Guru and Shri Gaura. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nishtiki. Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 21, entitled Instructions by Maharaj Prithu, text number 10. Kunvasya kirtim na shunotyabhigyo yadvikramochistamashesha bhupa loka sapala upajivanti kama madhyapitanve anme vadakarma shuddham. Kunvasya kirtim na shunotyabhigyo yadvikramochistamashesha bhupa लोकासपाला उपजीवन्ति कामम् अद्यापि तन्मे वद कर्मषु कौन्वस्य कीर्तिं न शृणोत्यभिज्ञो यद्विक्रमोच्छिष्टमशेषभूपा लोकासपाला उपजीवन्ति कामम् अद्यापि तन्मे कर्मशुद्धम्. Word by word meaning. Kaha is who, nu but, asya king Pruthu, kirtin glorious activities, nashrunoti does not hear, abhigya intelligent, yat his, vikrama chivalry, uchishtam remnants, ashesha innumerable, bhupaha kings, lokaha planets, sapalaha with their demigods, upajivanti execute livelihood, kamam desired objects, adyapi up to that, tat that, may unto me, vada please speak, karma activities, shuddham auspicious. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Pruthu Maharaj was so great in his activities and magnanimous in his method of ruling that all the kings and demigods on the various planets still follow in his footsteps. Who is there who will not try to hear about his glorious activities? I wish to hear more and more about Pruthu Maharaj because his activities are so pious and auspicious. Purport. Saint Vidura's purpose in hearing about Prithu Maharaj over and over again was to set an example for ordinary kings and executive heads who should all be inclined to hear repeatedly about Prithu Maharaj's activities in order to also be able to rule over their kingdoms or states very faithfully for the peace and prosperity of the people in general. Unfortunately, at the present moment, no one cares to hear about Prithu Maharaj or follow in his footsteps. Therefore, no nation in the world is either happy or progressive in spiritual understanding. Although that is the sole aim and objective of human life. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Dinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Vishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatari हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. I am extremely grateful to all the devotees of ISKCON Auckland, headed by Kalasambar Prabhu and his whole team, who have been since all these years, at the time Srila Prabhupada established Radha Giridharji, Sri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra, and Sri Gaurnitai, have been so wonderfully taking care of them and continuing to receive their mercy and allowing all of us to also come in this such a distant place from India and feel so homely as soon as you walk into a temple of ISKCON. So I'm extremely grateful to get this opportunity to share a few thoughts on the glorious scripture Srimad Bhagavatam, timeless conclusion of the Vedic wisdom. Also, after the pandemic, I'm much used to speaking online. So I offer my respects to all the devotees, both offline and online, who are hearing. So today we are discussing from the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Prithu Maharaj is going to begin his instructions. And here, Vidura is expressing his intense eagerness to hear about the activities of Prithu Maharaj from Maitreya Muni. Actually, sometimes people ask, Prabhuji, how can I understand that I'm developing, I'm progressing in devotional service? But truly, one of the signs of advancement in devotional service is eagerness to hear about the name, the form, the qualities, the pastimes of not only the Lord, but also his devotees, because the devotees are inseparable from the Lord. Janma karma chame divyam evam yovetti tatvatah tyakva deham punarjanmaneti mameti. Krishna says in the Gita how his birth and his activities are completely transcendental, and one who knows them in truth doesn't have to take birth in this world but comes to my abode. Srila Prabhupada explains in one of the purports that this Janma Karma Chame Divyam not only applies to the Lord, but also to his pure representatives, his pure devotees, whose desire is non-different from that of the Lord, who simply become an instrument of the Lord's will in this world. And therefore, their activities are as auspicious, as beneficial, as purifying as the activities of the Lord Himself. And therefore, eagerness to hear shows a taste for hearing. Na utpaded yadi ratin shramayeva hi kevalam. In fact, the purpose of dharma svanushtita pumsa, the purpose of all our rituals that we do day in and day out uh, through the process of devotional service, from morning to evening, from Monday to Sunday, from Jan to December, from birth to death, is actually to develop a taste for the name form qualities of the Lord. And sign of a devotee is this Macchitta Madgata Prana Bodhayantah Parasparam Kathayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. Their lives, Macchitta, their thoughts are always absorbed in me. Madgata Prana, their lives are dedicated to myself. Kathayantascha Mam Nityam and Bodhayantah Parasparam. They enthuse and inspire each other in speaking about me, developing a taste. Kathayantascha Mam Nityam, they're always engaged in serving me and engaging in discussing about me. Tushyantija, this is how they find their satisfaction. The whole world is trying so many efforts to become satisfied. But people don't know. The gross and the subtle body endeavors are made to satisfy them. That cannot really satisfy the spirit soul. The soul can find satisfaction. Yayatma suprasidati. It can only find satisfaction when it is situated in its natural constitutional position. Mamayavamsho jivaloke. Being a part of Krishna, in relationship to Krishna. Yes, we can relate with the world, but in relationship to Krishna. And then it becomes extremely satisfying. And what is the proof of this satisfaction? And one who is satisfied in this becomes gradually indifferent to the needs of the gross and subtle body. Till that time, it is our responsibility to fulfill those needs. We have come here to discuss about devotee care. And care is this, actually, to facilitate, create a favorable environment so that devotees, while fulfilling their needs of the gross and subtle body in a responsible way, do not forget about their goal of satisfaction of the soul, which is only possible through devotional service. And Tushyantija, Ramantija, this is their joy, this is their happiness to utilize all of their senses in the service of the Lord. Rishikena, Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchat. So, Srila Prabhupada mentions in this purport that Vidura's purpose in hearing about Prithu Maharajas over and over again was to set an example for ordinary kings and executive heads who should all be inclined to hear repeatedly about Prithu Maharaj activities in order to be able to rule over the kingdom or their states very faithfully for the peace and prosperity of the people in general. Why? Why should people especially the leaders, hear about Prithu Maharaja's activities or the activities of the Lord and his devotees constantly, especially those who efficiently and effectively ruled over large kingdom, practically the planet, or sometimes kingdoms. We hear about Yudhishthir Maharaj ruling over the whole planet Earth, Samrat, Ekarat, even Maharaj Parikshit, Ambrish Maharaj. These personalities. Why should one hear? Why should the leaders in any position of leadership should hear about this? Because, as Krishna explains in the Gita, Yadyad acharati sreshthas tattadevetaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartati. Whatever great men do, the common men follow. Truly, common men need a role model in their life. It's one thing to hear about ideal character, all the wonderful qualities. It's actually very nice. It's pleasing to the heart. But people will take that seriously into their own lives and strive to achieve those qualities and character only when they see someone practically. Everyone needs a role model. And Prabhupada explains in one particular purport in the 7th canto, everyone needs a Mahajan to follow. Mahajano yena gata sapantha. So, Mahajan are those who are exalted in their respective field, the most ideal and the perfect examples in every field. So in the business field, they feel business Mahajans, administrative Mahajans, singing Mahajans. They are singers, they're amazing singers. People need to look up to a role model. And therefore, for the human form of life, whoever wants to perfect, in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada mentions why Krishna gave it to Rajarishis. Evam parampara praptam imam Rajarishyo vividuhu. And Prabhupada mentions there a very interesting point. He says that Kshatriya, the rulers of the world, Kshati Trayate iti Kshatriya. Who is a Kshatriya? Kshati is loss, and Trayate means one who protects. One who protects the citizens from the loss, the greatest loss. And what is the loss? Loss not just of property alone, but loss of human life. Anyone who has got a human form of life should not waste and lose the wonderful opportunity that has been achieved to get self-realization. So every king is obliged to protect his citizens from the greatest loss of losing the opportunity in the human form of life. To what? Loss of human life to lust rather than developing love. And how? Prabhupada mentions there 3 things: by education, culture, and devotion. So it's the duty of the leaders in every field to, just like Guru na sasyat, Swajano na sasyat, Pita na sasyat, Janani na sasyat, Daivam na sasyat, Napatim na sasyat, Namo chayetat. Samupiyato Guruspi. Actually, Krishna is the father. Krishna is the mother. Pita hamasya jagato mata dhata. Krishna is the father. Krishna is the mother. Krishna is the leader. Krishna is, and anyone who takes the position of a king, a father, a mother, a guru should represent Krishna. Otherwise, they are unfit to take that position. So, a king takes responsibility on behalf of the Lord to rule his kingdom or his jurisdiction as Krishna wants them. They are the ideal father, mother, kings, and leaders or spiritual masters. And their responsibility is to rule through education, enlightening people through their examples and through their words about the ultimate goal of life. Create a favorable culture so that naturally anyone who comes in that environment takes up the process of devotional service, and that culture must culminate in devotional service. Without culminating in devotional service, education and culture is useless. Useless meaning it's of no worth. People die like cats and dogs. Education should lead to devotion. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. The purpose of education is to actually lead to surrender to the Supreme Lord. The purpose of culture is create a favorable environment where naturally people become devotees. So it's the responsibility of leadership, and by their personal example, demonstrate devotional service by prioritizing. We find even great kings, after executing their responsibilities, at the end of their life, prepared themselves through devotional service to perfect their lives, and thus setting an example to the whole world. If they, with all their facilities, opportunities of enjoyment, can leave everything and go to the forest to develop devotion to the Lord, how much the others should do it. The toughest thing is for people who possess all these things to give up everything. So therefore, Mahajano Yena Gadasapantha. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his explanation to the verse of Nectar of Instruction of Rupa Goswami, two verses, 6 favorable things and 6 unfavorable things. The 6 unfavorable things of Atyahara Prayasascha and the 6 favorable thing of Utsahat Nishchaya Dhairya, has written a book called Bhaktya Lokam, and in that book he talks about these 6 favorable things: Utsahat Nishchaya Dhairya Tattat Karma Pravartana, Sanga Tyagat Sato Vritti. The last one is Sato Vritti, and this is following in the footsteps of Mahajans, Sadhu Vritti. And he says that there are 2 types of sadhus: the householder sadhus and the renunciate sadhus. So there are 2 types of sadhus. And vritti means lifestyle or nature. How to utilize their nature, how to have a suitable lifestyle. So there are 2 types of Mahajans also. Narottam Das Thakur says, Mahajanero jai patha tate hobe anurata purva apara koriya vichar. Mahajanero jai patha, the path that the Mahajans traveled, tate hobe anurata, one should follow in their footsteps, as Prabhupada writes in this purport. One should hear about them and try to follow. We can't imitate them ever, but we can follow in their footsteps. Tate hobe anurata purva apara koriya vichar. Very interesting. He says, Narottam Das Thakur says, 2 types of Mahajans, the ancient Mahajan and the modern Mahajan. So, who are the ancient Mahajans? that is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Swayambhu Narada Shambhu Kumaro Kapilo Prahlado Janako Bhishmo Balirvayasa. And who are the modern Mahajans? Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, the modern Mahajans are those great devotees who appeared after Lord Chaitanya or during the time of Lord Chaitanya. And it is said that the path of the modern Mahajans are more auspicious. Why? Because we are able to relate to them much more than someone like Prahlad Maharaj or Yamaraj or Shiva or Brahma. They seem a little distant for us. Oh, boy, they have huge lifetime. They have, they are on another realm of existence. But if we hear about Lord Chaitanya and his followers who lived just 500 years ago, it's much easier. We are able to relate to them, their life and their activities are much more inspiring and easy to be inspired by. Srila Prabhupada was once speaking about Mahajans, 12 Mahajans. And at the end of the talk, one devotee said, Prabhupada, you are the 13th Mahajan. And Srila Prabhupada looked at him and he said, you can become the 14th. Meaning, if we just follow in the footsteps sincerely to the best of our ability, in the footsteps of the Mahajans, by Krishna's mercy, we will also get the same destination as the Mahajan. If we sincerely make that effort. So today, I would like to briefly speak about the contribution and the activity, the glorious activity and the contribution of one extremely powerful Mahajan who was the emperor of all the Vaishnavas amongst all the Vaishnavas in his times, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Truly, as amongst all the kings, Prithu Maharaj was considered the most exalted. Of all the wonderful devotees of the Lord in his times, we can, without sounding fanatic, without being, narrow-minded, we can, in a very, very broad sense, and matter-of-factly, say that Srila Prabhupada was one of the greatest personalities who really walked on this planet. Not because we are a part of ISKCON, but even objectively looking at what was his contribution that he made, the quality of his contribution and the quantity of his contribution, unparalleled in the history of mankind. So I would like to just briefly share a small poem that I wrote in 2015, Vyas Puja of Srila Prabhupada. 2015 was the 50th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada going to the west by boarding the ship Jaladuta. So on his 50th anniversary, I wrote a small poem. It is in Hindi, then I will translate it. I just wrote 7-8 lines. एक नाव प्रभुपाद ने लेकर एक नाव प्रदान किया, एक नाव की महिमा गाकर एक नाव से बचा लिया, एक नाव का आश्रय देकर जीवों का उद्धार किया, धन्यवाद प्रभुपाद आपका सबका बेड़ा पार किया. So the poem is about boat. Now means boat. It could be a ship or a boat. In Sanskrit, it's called nava or plava. Plava means also a boat. So since Prabhupada took this boat, Jaladuta, I composed this based on the boat. So what was Srila Prabhupada's contribution? Ek nav Prabhupada ne lekar. He took one boat. He accepted one boat. What was that boat? Jaladuta. From the Calcutta, Kolkata harbor, he boarded the Jaladuta. Many people board nice ships to move around the world for sightseeing. But Srila Prabhupada boarded that boat. Vyavasayatmika buddhi. He had a single focus. It was the order of his Guru Maharaj. It was to execute the will of his spiritual master. He had no other purpose. With just 40 rupees, which is practically nothing, not even worth to move from one part of New York to the other, $2. But he had a mission, and therefore he took that boat. It was very symbolic. It's called Jaladuta. Duta is a representative. Here was a representative, a Vishnu Duta, who was taking the Jaladuta through the waterways to help people cross over the ocean. He crossed over the ocean to help people cross over the ocean of birth and death. So, ek nav Prabhupada ne lekar. He accepted one boat. To do what? Ek nav pradan kiya. To offer a boat to the world. What is that boat? In the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, when the demigods are praying to Krishna in the womb, they speak a beautiful verse. They say, Swayam samuttirya sudustaram dyuman bhavaranavam bhimam adabhra sauhrada bhavat padambhoruha navamatrate nidhaya yata sadanugraho bhava. The translation is, O Lord, who resemble the shining sun, you are always ready to fulfill the desires of your devotee, and therefore you are known as a desire tree, Vancha Kalpataru. When acharyas completely take shelter under your lotus feet in order to cross the fierce ocean of nations, they leave behind on earth the method by which they cross. And because you are very merciful to the other devotees, you accept this method to help them. Bhavat padambhoruha navam. Nava means boat. So, the great devotees of the Lord, they effortlessly cross over the ocean of nations. Swayam samuttirya, they effortlessly cross the ocean. Sudustaram, it is very difficult to cross. Mamamaya duratyaya, it's very difficult. Bhavaranavam, the ocean of birth and death. Fierce, extremely fierce. But the amazing part is they cross over the ocean, but very mercifully leave the boat on the other side of the ocean for us to cross. Bhavat padambhoruha navam. Navam again means the boat. So which is that boat that they leave behind? Their example and their words. The Bhakti Vedanta purports is the boat that Srila Prabhupada wanted to offer to the whole world. And Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, I would like to actually read it. These words are so soothing to the heart and so enlivening. He says, okay, After wandering throughout the universe, a fortunate person within this material world seeks shelter of such a guru or acharya who trains the devotees in suitable ways to render service according to the circumstances. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead will accept the service. The acharya's duty, therefore, is to find the means by which devotees may render service according to reference from Shastra. Srila Rupa Goswami, for example, in order to help subsequent devotees, published such devotional books as Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Thus, it is the duty of the acharyas to publish books that will help future candidates take up the method of service and become eligible to return back home, back to Godhead by the mercy of the Lord. In our Krishna consciousness movement, the same path is being prescribed and followed. Thus, the devotees have been advised to refrain from four sinful activities: illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling, and to chant 16 rounds a day. These are bona fide instructions. Because in the Western, so he speaks a lot of that, the acharyas give the suitable method for crossing the ocean of nations by accepting the boat of the Lord's lotus feet. And if this method is strictly followed, the followers will ultimately reach the destination by the grace of the Lord. This method is called Acharya Sampradaya. So, what has Srila Prabhupada given? Why did he travel? He took the boat of Jaladuta to offer the boat of connection to the Sampradaya. And anyone who accepts these instructions can actually take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord and effortlessly cross the ocean of birth and death. So, एक नाव प्रभुपाद ने लेकर एक नाव प्रदान किया. He took a boat to offer a boat to the whole world, a boat which can help us cross over the ocean of birth and death. Srila Prabhupada's instructions as per the Guru Shishya Sampradaya or Parampara. And then the poem says, Ek naav ki mahima gaka. He also glorified one boat. So what is that boat? In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, Nridehamadyam sulabham sudurlabham plavam sukalpam guru karnadharam mayanukulen nabhasvateritam uman bhavabdhim natared saatma. Nridehamadyam sulabham sudurlabham. The human form of life is extremely precious and rare. And it has been come to us effortlessly. We didn't make an effort. We were just born. Happy birthday. But to make our birth happy, truly, we need to achieve the purpose of human life, which is self-realization. Sulabham Sudurlabham. And in that, if we can get a captain of the boat as a spiritual master, and the favorable winds of the scriptural directions given by the Lord Himself, then one can easily, effortlessly cross over the ocean. So, Ek Naav Ki Mahima Gaka, Srila Prabhupada traveled all over the world to glorify one boat, to help people appreciate the good fortune they have, Brahmanda Bhavite Kuno Bhagyavan, that they have received this Yaktva Sudurlabhamidam Bahusambhavante, the rare human form of life, the value of human form of life, as a most suitable boat to cross over the ocean. So, Ek Naav Ki Mahima Gakar, Ek Naav se bacha liya. He protected us from another boat, which is this boat. In the Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, Krishna says, Indriyanam hi charatam yan mano anuvidhiyate Tadasya harati pragyam vayur navam imangasi. Second chapter, 67th verse. Srila Prabhupada mentions in that purport, or even Krishna says in the verse itself, that our senses are so susceptible that if the mind focuses on even one of the senses, then it drags the intelligence away as a wind drives a boat to any direction it wants. Like a strong wind can make a boat fly from it to a different direction than where it wants to go. Similarly, the mind, which is pulled by the senses, one of the senses, even one of the senses, can bewilder a man's intelligence into some other direction. So, Srila Prabhupada warned us against this boat, the boat of restless, uncontrollable mind, by giving the mantra, manaha trayate iti mantra, by giving us the, the a tool by which effortlessly one can control this very, very restless and strong boat of the mind. So, एक नाव की महिमा गाकर एक नाव से बचा लिया, and then एक नाव का आश्रय देकर जीवों का उद्धार किया. He offered to the whole world the shelter of one boat. And what is that boat? Samashhritaye padapallavam plavam mahatpadam punya yasho murare bhavam udhir vatsapadam param padam 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 yat pipadam natesha. And what was that boat? That boat was the lotus feet of the Lord. Samashhritaye padapallavam plavam. Plavam means boat. The easiest way to hold the lotus feet of the Lord. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya. In fact, we glorify Srila Prabhupada by telling, he who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, not only has he taken shelter of the lotus feet, but he is offering us the shelter of the lotus feet. And that ashray is the process of devotional service, 9 process of devotional service. Navadha Bhakti. Create Bhagavati Adha. Prahlad Maharaj says, these 9 process of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Varchanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. So the greatest contribution of Srila Prabhupada, he offered us access, easy access to the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, which makes the fierce ocean of birth and death as water contained in the hoof print of a calf. Insignificant, effortlessly, easily, even a child can cross over. And we can see that we insignificant Kali Yuga creatures, absolutely hopeless and ill-equipped for anything, what to speak of self-realization. Alpayusha, Manda, Suvandamatayo, Manda Bhagya, Upadrita. Our lifespan is very short. And we are always in anxiety. And always quarrelsome. Manda, very lazy to take up spirituality. Sumandamatayo, and misguided, easily misguided. So many paths, as many people, so many paths. Manda Bhagya, and so unfortunate. Even if we come to know, still we are lazy to adopt it. So what to speak of those who don't know? Upadrita, and even after understanding the process, we are so much in anxiety. Our mind is so disturbed with even petty things of this world that we have no time to take shelter of this boat. But still, Srila Prabhupada very mercifully has offered us embassies of the spiritual world in this world for us. Actually, this place, though it is situated in Auckland, this is not in Auckland. This is a part of Vaikuntha. This is an embassy of the spiritual world, embassy of Vaikuntha. If at all we have the eyes to see, we can understand this is non-different from the spiritual world. Radha Giridhari are presiding over this place. Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra are with such big eyes glancing over that you cannot escape their sight. They have such big eyes. Their scope is so much that you can't escape. And God Nitai are personally teaching by their example. Apani Acharya Prabhu Jivar Sikhai. They're raising their hands and showing us. You don't know? Okay, just raise your hand. Just follow me. I raise your hand and just put your step like this, the Swami step, and keep dancing. Chant Hare Krishna and you'll go back to God. And Srila Prabhupada is sitting behind and pushing us. Go there. So truly, it is such a, he was the ambassador from the spiritual world who came to this world to establish embassies. Prithivite Ache Joto Nagaradigram. He established embassy of spiritual world in every town and village. And his followers sincerely are actually taking the responsibility to preserve the purity, the sanctity of this place. So, yeah, just by hearing about the activities and the qualities of personalities like this, powerful personalities who walked on this planet, they talked, they worked exactly like us, apparently, but they were not from this world. They simply came to demonstrate and leave behind a legacy, an example of how we could also absolutely not ever think of imitating, but sincerely, to the best of our ability, try to follow in their footsteps, at least take some baby steps, and then we can actually achieve the perfection of life. So I'm extremely grateful for this opportunity to speak this morning. And again, I would like to express my deep, heartfelt gratitude to the leadership here, Balasambar Prabhu and his team, for creating such an amazing shelter within this place. I had spoke to Devamrit Prabhu and Devamrit Maharaj before coming here. And I told him that, Maharaj, I'm going to New Zealand, I'm going to Auckland, I'm going to Wellington. And Devamrit Swami Maharaj wrote he replied the mail by saying, thank you for coming to the end of the world. And I take it as his blessings and his approval. And I'm also happy to get this opportunity to serve all of you here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Shri Radha Giridhari ki jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maiya ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Chandra ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.